Hello, 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 my beautiful empresses. Welcome back to Embody Your Empress. I'm Sarah King, the host of this amazing podcast and founder of Empress Nation. Today, if your heart has ever been broken, you've ever been lost and wandering through love, and I know some of you out there have been, if you've been crying for far too long about a
Mhm.
relationship, this guest today is going to be the person you want to be turning up the volume for. Lilli, really, welcome. Now, sorry, last name again. I knew I was going to do
Thank you. No,
that.
all good. It's Bewley like Bueller. It's
You,
close. Yeah,
there we
yeah,
go.
Bewley. Yeah.
My apologies. Only on three coffees. I knew it wasn't going to come out, but
All good.
welcome,
Thank
Lilli.
you, my
Tell us.
love.
You are an author, you are a dating coach, and I love talking about these things. So
Mm,
it's not something you come across all the time, like a dating coach. Do you want to tell us a bit about how you got into it, a bit about your
sure.
story, and why it's so important, especially now?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, thank you for having me, Sarah. I love deep conversation, so I'm excited to to see where this conversation goes here. So how did I get into dating? I mean, basically, the short answer is it followed my journey of being in bad relationships, being in relationships where I never felt seen, I never felt heard, I never felt understood, I never felt loved, I didn't feel like I belonged. And seeing this pattern really throughout my life of not feeling fulfilled, although doing all of the things that everyone else told me that I was supposed to do to be fulfilled, like the money, the cars, the job, the house, the boyfriend, all of those things. Yet reached that pinnacle and I still felt dead, felt emotionally dead, spiritually dead, mentally dead, all of the things. And so, you know, I I fell into this love niche because I love love. Like at my core, I am loving, I am caring, and I am kind. Um, I grew up in a home where there was not a good example of a good loving relationship. There was not a good example of a good partnership. There was not a good example of a true kind of equal relationship where things were repaired and and there was harmony and calm and peace. So that's the kind of place that I grew up in. um and then on top of that was trauma and abuse, overt and covert things that happened to me throughout my life that really informed my story with dating and love for years and years and years and decades and decades and decades. So I saw the patterns that I saw in relationships was again like really feeling very empty and unfulfilled. The types of people that I attracted were not good for me, and yet I still let them in my heart and my mind and my soul when they did not belong there. And so really this journey, Sarah, is about a look back on my journey and all of the inner healing work that I had the opportunity to do to get to a place where I could be myself, not wear the masks that everyone else told me that I should wear. And really, people say just be authentic. And if you've been through some stuff, it's not that easy. It really is not. And I had been through some stuff. And so this journey of really, really remembering who I am at my core and making that safe. Safe so I could be discerning on who is good for me and who is not. A lot of women out there are like, I have a bad picker. And I'm telling you, girl, we can change that. It's the idea of relearning how to listen to my intuition so I know who is good for me and who is not really quickly. Setting boundaries and sticking to them. That's the second part that's really hard. And really, it was the journey of me doing this inner work so that I could call in the most amazing man that I had ever known in my life. So today, this amazing man is with me. We've been together for years now, and he is the dream man. Like he's everything that every man before him never was. He supports me, he protects me, he comforts me. He wants to see me at the levels of depth that no one ever has, really. And he encourages me to go deeper. He cheers me on. He is literally a man that parts of me did not believe was actually and truly possible for us. And so all of this is the journey of healing and growth and transformation inside of myself. And my clients take that on. They take that on and they realize that, basic law of manifestation, like if you want to attract your dream partner, a basic law of manifestation is whatever's happening on the outside of you is a direct reflection on what's happening on the inside of you. So if you are attracting emotionally unavailable men, there are parts of you that you are not emotionally available to on the inside of yourself. And that's the work. And I'm a lot different, a lot, yeah, I would say a lot more different than a lot of other dating coaches out there because I take an inside out approach. A lot of people, your friends, your family, other dating coaches in this coaching kind of sphere will 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 actually try to change the outside of you before changing the inside of you. And I said, no, no, no. The inside is first. It doesn't matter what you have on your dating profile. It doesn't matter what you have on your pictures. It doesn't matter, if you ask these questions on a first date. It doesn't matter if you write out the characteristics that you want in your dream partner. Until you do the inner work, you will see the same patterns in your dating life that are showing up for you. And so that's like the line that my clients cross when they come over to work with me. And it's all about the journey that I took.
Oh my gosh. So I see myself in so many parts of this. Like it really resonates with me. I too did not have a healthy modeling of relationships as a young
Hmm.
person. Um, there was no love. There was no, like, not even small physical touch, like
Hmm.
chatting. What was chat like? That's not what you did with your husband. Um,
Hmm.
so when it was my turn to go into the dating world, having always been searching for a filler for the self love that was missing in me, I was
Yes.
turning to men to sort of top me up with that. And yet, because it was missing within me, it was missing within them. They don't know how to love either. And then I'm going,
Yeah.
why does so I'm out there searching for men, hoping they would fill me up, and yet they were treating me like shit, treating me like
Yeah,
rubbish, calling
absolutely.
in all the toxicity and wondering why I was so unlovable because that's how I felt about myself and I was calling it in.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
moving through that journey, doing the inside work like what you do, took me so long to get there. And then finally I ended up in a relationship when I had really declared my worth was only from within, not from without. And
That's good.
it changed in an instant. And you're so right. It doesn't matter what kind of pictures you put out there because you will keep attracting the same sort of people that treat you in the same way until you are putting out that energy and
Hmm.
trusting in yourself to bring that. Because what is a relationship? It is a playground to be learning more about who we are
Hmm.
as individuals, as souls, and mirroring and taking it up a notch and a level. And if there's no growth, you're not taking it up a notch and a level to expand into those really beautiful, juicy, deliciously, sometimes uncomfortable conversations that are
Yeah,
healthy relationships. Um,
absolutely.
you keep staying at that baseline toxicity level. So when you have a client come to you and she is going, oh, she's stuck in that loop of the same cycle
Hmm.
and she can't get her blinkers off to see perhaps
Hmm.
somewhere on the inside needs a little reflection. What
Hmm.
is a tip you give to her to help bring her back to center?
Ooh, well, that's a big one. I feel like it's a good question. So any pattern that we're seeing, and this is life. This isn't just dating and romance. This is life. Like any pattern that we're seeing with money, any pattern that we're seeing with family, any pattern that we're seeing with anyone, um, is probably rooted in some type of wound, whether you know the wound or whether you don't know the wound of what happened in your past. So your pattern is actually a part of you leading, let's say, the dating process. So, for example, like a trauma bond isn't really a trauma bond. A trauma bond is really just a part of you, a younger and probably wounded part of you leading your dating process instead of your highest and most aligned self. So, if there is a pattern, the best quote unquote tip that I can give would be to ask what part of me is leading this process or this pattern. Now, this gets a little difficult if you're not practiced at this type of inquiry. And this is not a tip that's going to heal you overnight. And this is also not we have to be careful if we are trying to push down or push away or push aside anything that is not serving us. And this is a completely this is a paradigm shift on what everyone tells us in our life, our family and our friends, our, personal development even as a whole. And even spiritual practices sometimes say just let go of things. We don't do that in my community, in our community. What we do actually is we turn towards the pattern. Because if a pattern is actually being led by a wounded part of us, like a pattern of, let's say, sleeping with someone too soon. Let's just use that as an example. So there's an archetype in my framework, and we can talk more about this if you want. There's an archetype in my framework called the chill woman. And the chill woman will, because she craves intimacy and connection so much, she will sacrifice her body too early in the process. And what ends up happening is that she will get ghosted, or there will be some type of pain because she will try to hold on to this relationship that really she's not fulfilled in, she doesn't belong in, and it's not serving her. So let's just use that pattern as an example. So if a pattern of you find yourself getting intimate too quickly with someone, then that is actually a wounded part of you leading the dating process. And what we're taught in almost every circle is, oh, just let go of that pattern. Oh, just like pretend it doesn't exist. Or just try to mindset your way out of it. Just try to look at yourself in the mirror and tell you are worthy. But that doesn't change anything. It does not change the pattern. It may for a short period of time, but if you really, really want to change patterns, your work is to actually understand why these patterns are there and understand the parts of you, which are the wounded parts of you that are continuing this pattern. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And it's probably no surprise to you of what I shared when I did your quiz. My archetype was the chill woman.
No
And I'm like,
way. Was it really? Okay.
oh, and I'm like,
Okay.
did you know this?
No,
um,
no, no, I didn't. That's awesome.
yeah. And that makes complete sense because I would always put myself out there. I would always go, oh, yeah, we'll be physical and he will fall in love with me. And then he would ghost me.
Oh,
And like,
yes.
it's so, like, I
Yes.
don't want to say cliche, but it was because I was leading from wounded little girl begging for scraps, begging for love. Somebody see
Love.
me, please. And I would just throw
Yes.
it all out there. And they
Yes.
would just be like, nah, and walk
Yep.
out the door, and it was
Well,
a cycle.
yeah, and the hard part about this is that I don't know about you, Sarah, but we get good at this. We get good. We get good at that. So we do. get the love and the validation and the affirmation, but it's empty. And
So,
over time, yeah, and over time, we start to realize that we want more than this. And that is where most of my clients come to me, is they are ready to change. They're ready to transform. They're ready to break the pattern. And a lot of my women have tried to do it on their own. And so, again, you don't know what you don't know. You can't experience what you haven't experienced yet. And again, and if you did know, women that are listening, that may be chill woman, or there's another archetype called the goddess woman. We could talk more about that. But if you're there, if you knew how to change that pattern, you would have already done it yourself. And so there's very deep subconscious and unconscious things happening that are, simple, but not easy. And we have a whole equation that we do. They're simple and not easy. And again, if you could do this on your own, you would have already, right?
exactly. And I was so good at thinking that's what I wanted. Oh, yes,
Yes.
it's fine.
You convince yourself.
Downplayed it. I'm like, yep, that's on to the next now. It's fine. Yeah, had someone else lined up, not a problem. And when
Exactly.
I acknowledged the the programming, the deeply wounded child side of myself, and I healed her, my
Hmm.
relationship, my love life completely changed. Like the boundaries I drew were strong and solid and clear for the first
Hmm.
time in my life.
Mm.
And I called in someone who was very grounded and committed to open communication and um, genuine with their affections. And it was a whole different world from what I had ever experienced. Like thought, I thought there must be something different with love because you see it in the movies. Had I experienced it? No, but I held on to that faith that there must be a change possible out there. Though I could see easily that it would be easy for someone to go, love doesn't exist,
Hmm.
can't be true for me. Like when you
Hmm.
haven't seen it, you're not holding on to any
Hmm.
sort of hope of it. Um,
Hmm.
I can
Absolutely.
see how women get stuck in, I don't need a man. I'm in that sort of like mindset. But if you go a bit deeper and you go into yourself,
Hmm.
explore with curiosity, like there is a whole new world out there. Not to say you have to be in a relationship to be fulfilled in life. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it gives a different dimension when you come to relationship out of choice, having healed those parts of yourself.
Yeah. And you're with your highest and most aligned self.
Absolutely.
And what you're talking about, Sarah, is limiting beliefs. So a lot of women hold these quote unquote, I don't call them limiting beliefs, but that's what everybody else calls them, which is why I'm using it. I'll tell you what I call them in a minute. But women hold these like limiting beliefs about love, which is, I'm never going to find a man. I don't need a man. There aren't enough men in my town. That, there are no conscious men out there, et cetera, et cetera. You're not enough, or I need to be skinnier, or I need to be prettier. These are all limiting beliefs. The way that we frame them are actually protective beliefs. They're protective beliefs. And what that means is they serve a function in your life, especially your love life, about basically love equals to parts of you equals pain, equals hurt, equals drama, equals, whatever it is, fear, lack of confidence, disappointment, frustration, confusion. I mean, you can go on and on and on, but parts of you hold these fears inside of you. And so these protective beliefs will protect you from even trying. Right. And so that is the healing work. The healing work is trauma tells us either or, but healing, alignment, love, true love, and abundance tells us both and. So we can go after love and we don't have to be hurt. But parts of you do not understand that yet. And that's the work. That's the inner alignment that we do in our communities is we do we start with the nervous system, and then we look at parts, and then we really start to really have all the things come together, so that when you go out into the world and when you date, you are leading with your highest and most aligned self instead of your wounded self. And it's a lot. Whoever's listening to this, if you just go out there and you just say, well, Lilli says I should go lead with my most highest and aligned self, and that doesn't work for you, I know. It's because it's not that easy. It is not that easy. It really takes a lot of rewiring in your body and your brain and your nervous system, and creating, literally, like what you're saying, Sarah, is I didn't even know that this love was possible, right? I had lost hope, but I had a little bit of hope, but a part of me didn't have hope. It's literally creating new neural pathways in your brain, new nervous system rewiring to recognize that love can be safe, right? And the only way, again, to attract something on the outside of ourselves is to realign and alchemize things, transform inside of ourselves.
Mhm. Absolutely. Because even when you get to that point where I feel safe and accepting, there will be activations along the way where your
Oh yeah.
automatic response will
Oh
be
yeah.
back to that default, and you're like, oh, I'm not
Yeah.
safe. I'm not, I've got to get out. And my trigger point would be to run. I am the runner. I'm out
Yeah.
the door. I've got my bag packed.
Yeah.
See you later.
Sarah, hold on one sec. You know what I call dating? My clients and I, we call dating trigger town. So
Ah,
dating, yeah, dating is trigger town. It
yeah,
literally is trigger town. What
absolutely.
is what is good about Trigger Town is that if you have the right support, like if you have, a therapist or a coach, not your friends and family, because your friends and family are coming to your dating life with their own filter on, they're not objective. If you have support in the dating process through Trigger Town, you heal those triggers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, I just had to tell you that because you said
No,
you're talking about the triggers and everything.
well, I love that fact that you bring up, like, friends, they love you, but they will give you a projected viewpoint
Yes.
of whatever you're
Yes.
talking about. Where to have a therapist or a coach or a counselor who is completely neutral and can stand back and offer you the reflections that are actually going to be of your highest self and your most aligned,
Yes. Yes.
is the beautiful thing of it. Like, people think coaches and counselors and therapists, when it comes to relationships, are for when relationships are crumbling, but you actually benefit so much more from having a coach like yourself when you are in trigger town, when you're in the
Hmm.
process, when you know that you have someone to turn to when shit is getting real and you're like, what am
Yeah.
I going to do? Because you're not a mind reader. And sometimes when you are so far in it, it's really hard to take that step
Yeah.
back and gain that perspective, that having a support person helps bring you back to. And you're like, oh, I can have a look at the whole picture, and I can and break it down, and I can see the puzzle pieces now and where I can shine some light. So that's such
Yeah,
a beautiful
totally.
aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was going to say trigger town. Yeah, so running out the door. When you,
Yeah.
you get to that point where you're like, I can put down the bags and I can breathe through this and I can bring my nervous system back to a place of safety. You're like,
Hmm.
oh, yeah, okay, actually that gets less and less each time, and you bring those trigger points, sort of like, not minimalize them, but you take the fire out of them, so that
Mm.
you really are coming from a relationship from that point of view where, okay, that did heighten me a little bit, but I can take a breath and I can feel it in my body and I can feel safe again. And I can now articulate, because my brain hasn't pinged off into that prehistoric mode where it's just like fight or flight
Exactly.
syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to make decisions when you're in fight or flight, or when you're in freeze, or when you're in fawn.
Yeah.
Like literally what you just said is completely true. Like neuroscience is that if we are in a nervous system state that's activating or dissociated, basically, which is fight or flight, fawn, or freeze, then we have limited and sometimes no access to our prefrontal cortex. And our
Mhm.
prefrontal cortex is where we make decisions. That's where we can really discern who is right for us and who is not. People say that they want good, people want good communicators or what have you. And that's where we communicate from. So if not, we're going to communicate from that wounded place of the fight or flight, or we're going to communicate from that wounded place of the dissociation, or the numbness, or the fawn, or the freeze. And that's what people don't really understand about how the nervous system really, really is important, is because you know, when we start to understand what's happening in our body, we can actually attribute some of those things to maybe some trauma, or to things that have happened to us in the past, or to parts of us that are holding fear, or why do I get so nervous when I want to speak up for myself? And why do I get so nervous in my chest when I want to speak up for myself when I'm on a date? And I decide not to do it because it's too scary. Really, what that is, that nervous system response is actually telling us that a part of us is holding fear about, at one point in your life, whether you remember it or whether you don't, you were not safe to have a voice. You were not, it was safe at some point, it was not safe at some point in your life to have a voice. And so that is where, again, that's the healing work. That's the gap that we traverse through this healing journey, is kind of going through all of that and getting curious about, okay, I hear that it's safe to not, or unsafe to not have a voice. What happened? Right? Like, you get to ask those questions, and you get to dive in deeper. And over time, it's more than breath work from where I sit. It's more than taking a breath. It's actually understanding these responses. And when we start to understand these responses, the responses are not as acute, because they don't need to be so active anymore.
Oh, so so powerful, so powerful. And if many of us get on this journey, like, it will change the dating journey out there for
Mm,
a lot of people. um Tell me more about the different types of archetypes
hmm.
that you have.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So, um, the feminine dating archetypes are this framework that was really given to me by God, really. And where it came from was a couple things. It came from, a little bit now about my journey. Like, I've been through it. Every step that you have been through that you do not want to talk about, and you have shame around, and you have blame around, I have done it, or I know somebody that has. And then we're talking like not good stuff. And I understand. Okay. So the journey, it's like a look back 2020 of my journey, in combination with, I started to take my clients at the very beginning of my coaching practice through the same healing journey that I went through. And what I started to see was these kind of like these segments that started to happen. And I started to see women go through phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. And that, combined with everything that I was learning about myself and my clients were learning about the nervous system, about attachment styles, about polyvagal theory, about parts work, about inner child healing, shadow work, blah, 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 all the things, like all the names and the labels of all the modalities. And one day God was just like, whoosh, this is something. We need to start talking about this, because smart women will not talk about the things that are actually happening in their life especially in dating, from a transparent perspective. Or if they do, and they continue to have the pattern, it'll start to get embarrassing, right? It'll start to be parts of their journey that they don't want to share with friends anymore, because they shared it the last 5 times has happened with a man. Oh, I got ghosted again, or, and all that stuff. And so there's a lot of things in the dating process, especially for us women that have been through some stuff, that no one ever talks about. And so that is what really that this is all about, is really, really understanding that these things that are happening to you, with you, and for you are not crazy. This is actually very normal. And so one day God was like, blah, here it is. We need to start talking about this. And one of my favorite things, Sarah, about the dating archetypes is, it I really do not like the way that personal development talks about these label things like codependency, like narcissism, like anxious attachment, like avoidant attachment. because what I experienced with personal development and these kind of labels, like we can read about all of these different things about us and we can pinpoint everything that is wrong with us. We can pinpoint, oh, I'm an anxious attacher, or oh, I'm codependent. And it becomes a label that holds power over us if we do not do the work to transform it. And so one of my biggest gripes about personal development is that personal development is really good at telling you what's wrong with you, and it's not so great about telling you how to get to your next level. And so I think the attachment styles are broken, and that's why. So the feminine dating archetype, what we've identified through my journey, my clients' journey, hundreds of clients, thousands of coaching hours, is that when we can identify what archetype you are, we can also tell you the targeted things that you have the opportunity to heal and look at and get curious about to get to the next level. And so if you like, if anybody out there, like you, Sarah, you took the dating archetype quiz. If anybody out there wants to take the quiz, they can take the quiz. They'll be told what their archetype is, but then it'll also tell you, okay, this is where we think that you should target your healing. If you're going to therapy, if you're doing coaching or counseling, if you're in support groups, hopefully you have some support around you, or if you want to try it alone for a little bit and see what happens, this is what we recommend that you do the healing work on so you can get to your next level.
I loved that actually. Like when I was reading through, I'm like, oh yeah, tick, tick, tick. And
Yeah.
then there are not many things that you come across that it just like, actually, these are steps to focus in on. And I'm like, I really appreciate that. Like, it was a starting point maybe to someone who has not had a starting point. And often you can read the laundry list of what's wrong with us, air quotes, what's wrong with us. But you can read
Yeah.
it and we can be like, ah, and get a bit deflated and it can play around. But your quiz was so empowering because I'm like, oh yes, this was, and for me, like as doing it in reflection, I'm like, this was the woman I was, and it was actually quite powerful for me
Mhm.
because it allowed me to see how far I've come and
Yay.
my journey, and that was really cool. So I encourage everyone to go and do the quiz, no matter if you're single, dating, and relationship, don't care at all what's going on. Go and have a look because it gave an insight into your soul. I would say.
Mm,
So it's not personality, it's not persona, it's literally your soul and your soul's work. Like I know my journey, my big part of my journey here in this world was to have that experience and to
mhm,
really learn self-love from the ground level up.
mhm.
I committed like so hard into that. And I'm really proud of the journey that I've been on. And that's not the journey for everyone, but your archetype will be different. So I'm really curious to see for other women if it reflects their life journey within their inner work.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the quiz. I'm glad it served you in some type of way and it helped you feel seen, and I celebrate the growth that you have done, to we call it in our communities, we call it ascension. We're ascending to the next level. So I congratulate you on your ascension.
Thank you so much. I love the work that you are bringing to women out there. Do you work with men as well, or is it majority of women?
I do work with men privately. I mostly have women clients, but if men come to me, I do have a private coaching program called On Purpose. But
Oh,
and yeah, yeah, and we, like I said, in our communities, we talk about ascension as and ascension is my flagship program where we really do the deeper level healing work. Again, to ascend. I mean, that's really my women come to me because they're ready to up level. They're done. They're really sick and tired of being sick and tired about that pattern that they've been trying to break and they just can't do it. A lot of my women come to me that have done therapy for years and years and years and years and or try to do the healing work on their own and the nervous system and the breath work and all the things and still the patterns are still there. So it's some deep work, but I mean, literally, it's my gift to the world. And I'm so grateful, to be able to do it.
you can just tell, and there's so much power being held in a
Mhm.
space where you can be so vulnerable and to be held by the sisterhood. as you are ascending. And that is a beautiful gift to be bringing to the world. All right, Lilli, I have some Empress questions for you.
Yeah.
How do you embody your Empress?
Ooh. Well, I embody my Empress by being the embodiment of the magnetic woman. And the magnetic woman is our level 4 in ascension. And the magnetic woman, she knows who she is and what she wants. She is her actions, behaviors, thoughts, emotions, and beliefs are all lined up to, again, her fulfillment, her alignment, her ascension. She, if we're talking about dating, she knows very quickly who is right for her and who is not. A lot of women, especially really smart women, know that they're enough in their head, but they don't feel it in their body, in their souls, in their cells. And the magnetic woman has transmuted all of that, all of those awareness things that she knows or she should know into self. And self, that version, that Empress, for the Empress Nation out there and for my magnetic women as well, that version of self is a beacon to anything and everything that will fulfill you. And it's not that bad stuff won't happen in your life. It's not that. It's not that it's all sunshine and roses, but it is about, yes, when the things happen, are you most connected to yourself? Are you most connected to God? Are you most connected to your purpose? Are you most connected to making the decisions that are in most alignment with you and your next steps and all of those good things? So the magnetic woman, I think, is where your Empress and the magnetic woman meets here.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I love that. And I love that you touch on the fact that life is not always going to be perfect. And a relationship, no matter how much you heal, it might not last forever, and that's okay. And it's not a failure. It's not a negative thing. It's part of the evolution and the journey. And that
Mhm.
knowing the soul self God connection is the number one that will always see you through.
Mm.
It's beautiful. All right, next question. What does your Empress energy feel like for you?
Mm. I mean, this is it. Like you're here, you're sitting in it with me. It feels it feels calm. It feels on purpose. It feels fulfilling. What's funny is, I mentioned at the beginning that I'm loving, I'm caring, I'm kind. I always have been. Like I was born that way. And what happened throughout the years is that I was inviting people into my heart space, into my energy, into my time, where my loving and caring and kindness was abused, taken advantage of. It was because I didn't know how to, because I wasn't in touch with myself. I wasn't in touch with my Empress energy or my magnetic woman energy. I didn't know who was right for me and who was not. So I didn't know how to discern. And so it's vulnerability, it's strength, it's discernment, it's alignment, it's godliness, it's leadership, it is self-leadership, it is truly on purpose.
Oh, it just gives me the full body tingles. The full body tingles hearing that. Love that. Okay. Last question. What are your parting words of wisdom for inspiring your nation or your magnetic woman?
Hmm. Parting words of wisdom is, if you are seeing patterns in your life or your dating life that are not serving you, that you don't like, that you've tried to change or you would love to change, is it is not you. It is a part of you. And so what your work is, your opportunity is to understand the part of you that is leading the dating process. And that is transformational healing work, because after you understand, hopefully that's good news. Hopefully, that's good news. And the transformation isn't about making those parts of you bad. It's actually about turning towards those parts and starting to get curious and understand them. And because what they really need is they really need the leadership, the parenting, the compassion and patience, presence, love, protection, and support that you never got in your life. So your work is to actually disconfirm what they believe love is. And so that's the inner healing work.
That is inner healing work. Oh my gosh. Oh, that is what a beautiful way to end our conversation with Lilli. We're going to pop the link to the quiz in the show description. So I would love everyone to go and do it and really feel into it and reflect on what comes up for you. Even going through the questions is a beautiful reflection on where you're at with your world. People can reach out. We've got all your links in the description as well. And I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for the work that you're doing out there in the world. It's so needed, it's so valuable. And the more inside out work, the better. Like, our communities are evolving, they're changing. There are more and more women coming back to their soul aligned selves,
Mhm.
stepping forward in a way that their life is purposeful and missionful and full of love and joy and compassion. So, thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me, Sarah. I love this conversation. I love conversations about love and just deep conversations about all the things healing. So I appreciate this space.
You are so welcome.